Welcome to this episode of Star Wars Declassified, where we look into different facts and stories revolving around the Star Wars canon universe and lore. In today's Declassified, we'll be looking at Force ghosts, and answer the question on who exactly could see them, and whether there were any requirements needed to be fulfilled in order to do so. Force ghosts, or better known as Force spirits in canon, were beings who gained immortality through the preservation of their consciousness after death. Once having died as life forms, they would then become one of the Force and exist through it. With special training, any deceased Force sensitives could retain their identity, and therefore communicate with the living. As we know, Force ghosts were able to be seen by at least some of the living, as evidence of Luke Skywalker conversing with both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda during the events of the original and sequel trilogy. But was he the only one capable of seeing them? And if so, why? In answering this question, there appear to be three major components required for someone to be able to see a Force ghost, these being inherent Force ability, mental state, and specific or advanced training to seeing Force ghosts. In A New Hope, Luke hears what can be best described as an echo of Obi-Wan Kenobi after just 1 or 2 Jedi lessons. However, he doesn't appear to be able to converse with him, and this can be attributed to his ability to tap into the Force still being somewhat raw. It should also be noted that Luke, the son of the Chosen One, was also naturally strong with the Force, more so than the average Jedi. And thanks to the canon novelization of Star Wars A New Hope, we also know that it took at most a day for the Millennium Falcon to travel from Tatooine to Alderaan, giving enough time for Obi-Wan to lay out the basics for Luke than what was shown on screen. Luke later had spent some time of his own practicing his Force powers after the events of A New Hope, and at a time when he was mentally receptive, such as near death on Hoth and recently having used the Force to save himself from a Wampa, he was now able to see the apparition of Obi-Wan, but yet he could still not converse with him. In the canon novelization of the Empire Strikes Back novel, Obi-Wan explicitly states that Luke can see him because his training is now sufficiently advanced enough, giving reason that Obi-Wan did teach him the technique and Luke had since been training to master it. At the end of the Revenge of the Sith, Yoda tells Obi-Wan that with specific training, he'll be able to communicate effectively with Qui-Gon Jinn, who had been the first Jedi to learn the secret of becoming a Force ghost. So to answer if Luke was the only one capable of seeing the Force ghost during the original trilogy, and based on the evidence, then yes he was. And we now know why this is. Because he met the 3 major components required to see Force ghosts. Although of course that doesn't mean that others wouldn't be able to see them either, as we also know that prior to the events of the original trilogy, Obi-Wan, after undergoing his training, was also able to communicate with his old master, Qui-Gon Jinn, on Tatooine, giving even more reason that anyone is capable of this. As not only did the living need to be in the right mental state, but also need the required adequate training, as being Force sensitive alone was simply not enough. This is evident at the end of the Return of the Jedi, when Luke can clearly see the 3 Force ghosts at the Rebel celebration on Endor. However, his sister Leia couldn't see them, even though she also was a Force sensitive, but hadn't undergone the basics of any Jedi training, and thus never learning the technique to see them. It's also not surprising either to understand that Han Solo on Hoth, who at the time was still skeptical of the Force, did not even see Obi-Wan's Force ghost and completely went through him while searching for Luke. So in summary, yes, all living beings can see and communicate with Force ghosts. But first and foremost, a certain criteria must be met before they can do so, and once those individuals do meet those requirements, they'll always be able to see and speak of Force ghosts, just as long as the Force ghosts themselves will it. And that'll do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and share it, along with subscribing to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars related content. And if you want to support the channel, do check out our Patreon page. Or if you want to continue the conversation, join us on the official Silo Discord server. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.